What is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231, here to break down my week 2 cash lineups, which were both losses on DraftKings and FanDuel. But like I told you all in the prelude to this, that whether they were wins or losses, I'm going to be back and breaking down kind of the decision processes, and you know, when it goes well, where the reasons it went right, and when it goes wrong, why exactly it went wrong. So let's start with DraftKings. My lineup, as you can see, was Murray, Elliott, Henry, Jonathan Taylor. Those were like the 4 guys, first 4 in my lineup. I was never going to budge. Then Davante Adams, who I was going to talk to in a second, was stubborn on and played. Paris Campbell, Corey Davis, Chris Herndon, and then all that was left for me was the Jets defense. So I think, first off, where I was at quarterback and running back, I don't really regret. Like Derrick Henry, you know, I made the joke on the front of this video that he, you know, is laughing at me. But you know, if you're going to get Derrick Henry 25 plus touches in a game in that type of matchup, I think you're going to take your chances, especially where he was priced. So I don't regret that at all. Obviously, he was massively chalk. Where I think my roster construction really kind of broke down was jamming in Davante Adams. So obviously Davante Adams was one of the elite wide receiver plays on the week. But here's the thing. There was a lot of elite wide receivers. And I think where my big misjudgment was going, all right, I can get Davante Adams because of all this little wide receiver value. You know, we have 2 of the guys that are made my lineup, but you also, in my opinion, that were really strong plays. You had Deontay Johnson, you had CeeDee Lamb, kind of blanking right now. You had a lot of wide receiver value. You'd have to look back at my notes. Scotty Miller, I thought was a very play. Like, you had a ton of guys. Mike Williams, list goes on. There's a lot of guys sub 5K that you can make. And I think that by doing so and realizing I could get Davante Adams, I kind of missed the boat that, look, the lower 7K and some value off of Davante Adams to whether it was upgrade your defense or upgrade one of those wide receiver slots, that was where maybe my mistake was made. Obviously, Davante Adams didn't have a good game, got nicked up, but I think, you know, if you looked at dropping down to Julio, who obviously didn't have a good game either, dropping down to Amari, dropping down to Calvin Ridley, like really attacking that Dallas-Atlanta game, the game that we knew would blow up, right? Like, I don't think there was one person in this industry or in any football circles that was like, you know what, Dallas and Atlanta, there's gonna be a struggle to have points there. Like, nobody thought that. And especially on the Atlanta side of the ball, we knew that there was gonna be so much passing. We knew that the targets were filtered towards Ridley and Julio. And honestly, I think Ridley was, in hindsight, I landed on him some FanDuel GPPs, but made a ton of sense. We had Keats, you know, on our opening week breakdown, predicting that Calvin Ridley would be, you know, a top 5 overall wide receiver. Like, so much was there. Kind of missed the boat there. You do that, you upgrade maybe one of those wide receiver slots. Like, I don't think that Corey Davis was like a must play by any means. I think he was fine, but he was not a must play. Deontay Johnson was not a must play. Honestly, obviously, if I go Deontay Johnson over Paris Campbell, I min cash in a couple other places. Paris Campbell was not a must play. I think he was a great play, but he was not a must. Like, you didn't have to play 2 of those guys. You could have gotten up. You could have run back with Ridley and CeeDee Lamb. You would have been good. So yeah, that was the one. The second mistake, and this is the one that I'm like really kind of pissed on because I was back and forth, was Chris Herndon. I know he was chalk. I know there was a lot of things that made sense, but ultimately, like, I made this comment to Rod in our chat as we were like talking about some lines before lock, and he was bringing up Rashad Perryman, who another one of those value guys that you could have tossed in there. And I'm like, if I play Rashad Perryman, I'm gonna have 3 Jets, and I literally said I already don't want to have 2. So when you start thinking about that and you go, man, I'm gonna have Perryman, or I'm gonna have Herndon and the Jets D, and you're like having these doubts, like once those doubts start creeping in, you probably have it wrong. So I think that was the other mistake. We really were high on Mo Alley-Cox, who I think benefited from Paris Campbell going down, but Mo Alley-Cox was fine. Obviously, Jordan Reed at 2,600 was very in play. Was a little skeptical of him in cash because of the limited snap count, but there was a ton of value tight ends too. So you didn't have to go to the Jets in a matchup versus the 49ers. Obviously, you know, hindsight, nobody would if we knew he was going to block as much as he did. But I do think there were some signs there that maybe that wasn't the strongest play. and you know, could have gone into other spots. And then obviously that would upgrade your defense too. I think just small mistakes. Overall, like, I was fine with my build. I'll take my L. I just think that if we sit back and we don't learn from our mistakes at all, we're doomed to repeat them. All right, on FanDuel, I'm actually gonna make kind of a hot take here. I think obviously Davante Adams was maybe a little bit of overspend, especially with how soft the wide receiver pricing was on FanDuel. But I think, given how much I loved Kyler Murray, that jamming Lamar Jackson in may not have been as optimal as it felt. Realistically, like, how much higher of a floor is Lamar Jackson than Kyler Murray? Like, in my opinion, Kyler Murray is becoming what Lamar Jackson was last year. We know he's gonna run the ball, you know, 10, 12 times. If anything, he maybe even has a more explosive passing game than Lamar Jackson does right now. And then there's just the scripts for Arizona games are gonna be so much better than Baltimore. We know Baltimore doesn't necessarily want shootouts. Arizona has no problem with it. Cliff Kingsbury wants to run a ton of plays, so I think at his price, that was the first mistake. That would have allowed a lot more flexibility. Again, I mentioned Davante Adams, the same running backs. The second part that I just think that, you know, if I would have thought longer on it, was like, why the hell did I end up with Dallas Goedert? He fit, like, he wasn't on my radar, and then he fit, and I'm like, oh, Dallas Goedert. Now, I could have gone to Herndon, which obviously would have been a disaster too. But I think that, like, landing on a tight end or landing on a player that you don't really want, and you start, like, in your head deciding, oh, well, they can make it work, and these type of things. For cash, that's probably a mistake, again. So, you know, maybe playing around a little bit more, maybe that would have got me on to looking at Kyler Murray and seeing that I could have upgraded Davis or Lamb, which, again, they were fine plays, right? But are they, like, must-haves? No, they weren't. Neither one of them were must. Especially, you could have gone up to Calvin Ridley, you could have got up to Amari Cooper, you could have gotten better, more secure pieces for cash games. And, like, honestly, I was very, very close on a lot of cash lines on FanDuel. So, you know, any of those changes would have made the difference. So hopefully week 3, make some better decisions. I hope that these videos are helping you with your thought process, or maybe these are some just things that you're thinking about on your builds too. I will be back definitely next week on Monday when things are more fresh in your mind, in my mind. And I really do appreciate you guys watching. Good luck, and if you have not hit the subscribe button on the FSI channel, please do so. So many awesome videos hitting the feed, whether it's Showdown, whether it's Classic, PGA, soccer, all that good stuff. We've got it all for you, and it's free of charge. So hit that subscribe button, it really does help. Thank you guys, and have a great day.